Welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Jonte Gibson Bryant. I am founder of Awaken Her Wellness Inc., a 501c3 charitable organization whose mission is to empower women to achieve the optimal balance of health and wellness crucial to living their highest quality of life. And this is Healing Conversations and Unapologetic Transitions. And if you are returning, thank you. If you have not done so already, I ask that you subscribe, like, and share these videos, as it is my hope, what I perceive to be my mission and calling, to speak up for those who don't believe themselves to have the courage to speak up for themselves until they find the courage within themselves that's in all of us to speak their very own truth. It has been my lived experience that we really do overcome by sharing our truth and testimony. Today I'm coming to you because I want to continue the discussion about generational trauma. And the topic of this discussion is Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I believe that trauma as it pertains to Black women dates back far beyond the here and now. And the root is found in childhood. And just like the addict, how do you overcome anything unless you first admit it? When a person goes to AA, they have to stand and take ownership of their position and condition. My name is such and such, and I am an addict. In my case, I had to take ownership of the anxiety. I have had to take ownership of my promiscuity. I've had to take ownership of my failures. And I have to take ownership of the trauma in my past if we want to heal it. So again, this discussion is about generational trauma as it pertains to Black women, because I am a Black woman. I identify with women across many in all spectrums, but my lived experience is that of a Black woman. I like to share my story, which started as a little Black girl. One of my first experiences of feeling unprotected. I was in maybe the 3rd grade. My mom was illiterate. She could not read. And yet she was the person helping me with my work, my schoolwork. Well, I received straight F's on my report card. And being the genius that I am, I thought it would be smart to try to change those F's to B's. And so that's what I did. But I had a father who was smarter than I. Even though I tried to use an ink pen and to follow the script as it was on the report card, because even in the 3rd grade I was pretty smart, if I may say so myself. But he figured me out. And so we walked home to my grandmother's house, where many of us often met up. And on that day, he walks me out to the switch tree. The hickory tree is what we called it. Now, if you know anything about switches or hickory, there's a particular type of tree that renders the best switches or hickory. So we went to that tree. Actually, if I recall correctly, he sent me out there first to get 7 switches, which signified the 7 F's that were on my report card. I went out there thinking I was going to outsmart him again. I picked 7 small switches. I took them to him, and he was not amused. And he trotted me back out to the tree where he picked out 7 perfect switches according to what his desire was at the moment. Shortly thereafter, we made our way back into my grandmother's house, into the restroom. There were people outside of the restroom. I don't remember exactly who was there, but I do remember some faces. And in that restroom, I was whipped with each one of those switches. Fast forward, I'm about 13 years old. I've always been a very bold person. As a little girl, as mouthy as I am now as a woman, who's the healing version of the little girl I once was. I was even more mouthy back then. Not in a disrespectful way, I didn't try to be, but I was honest. Honesty, for me, is the best medicine, even to a fault sometimes. So, he and I had a disagreement. I believe there was some discussion about sex. He thought I was having sex. I was accused of having sex, even to the point where I went to the doctor and was examined. They confirmed that I was in fact a virgin, even though my virginity would probably leave a year after that. But in that moment, I remember being backed into a corner and his fist coming towards my face. He didn't punch me in my face, but he left a huge hole in the wall beside me. And at that moment, at that very moment, I swore to myself and to God that I would never, ever allow another man to put that much fear in my heart. Many years later, and I'm a married woman, and we're struggling. I'm struggling to submit. I refuse to let him see me vulnerable. I could not, because I swore. I determined within myself that I would never, ever allow a man to have that much power in my life and over me. And so, as a writer, I wrote a piece. This piece can be found in my book, Into the Darkness, A Journey to Self-Love Through Self-Examination. I would like to share a piece of that poem or short story with you. This is called Declaration of Independence. I declared on a father who managed me with a rod and iron fist, as he mismanaged my dependency, that I would never again depend on a man for your protection. Yet, I crave your protection, all while fearing being perceived as weak. So I lash out. To you, I deliver executorial blows of my words of mass destruction. I declare that I do not need you, all while I need you. The paradox is me, waiting to be shifted into a paradigm. The birthing of a time where my fists can be liberated and my words won't need to berate you. I need you. Still, my pride refuses you this truth. And that's only a snippet of that piece. It goes more in depth than that. I would like to put this out here. God has blessed me with a gentle man, one who won't even call me out by name when I've given him reason. He refuses to disrespect me in that way. Now, we've had our fair share of trauma and disagreements and disorder in almost 14 years of marriage. But I can assure you, I can guarantee you that the way I spoke to my husband had nothing to do with my husband and everything to do with the unhealed trauma of my past. Diary of a Mad Black Woman. That's my story. It dates back to that little girl in the bathroom who had relatives sitting in the kitchen right across from the bathroom who could hear my screams and holler for help, but no one came to my rescue. I believe at that moment is when I determined within myself that I couldn't trust anyone, no one would ever come to my rescue. So as a married woman, I carried that. I adopted that very naive, very distorted understanding. So God sends me a man who wants to protect me, but I refuse him that because I refuse to be vulnerable. I made a vow. And biblically speaking, we are always taught that it's better not to make a vow than to make one and break one. I could not. I couldn't break that vow. I was standing firm and steadfast in my belief, in my vow, that never again would I allow a man to mishandle me the way my father did. And my next thing, as it pertains to the anger of women in general, but again, my point of view is from that of a black woman. It's the either or mentality. Now, I have a husband who is the breadwinner of our family. He goes out and he works tirelessly, 12, 16 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then sometimes a 6th day. Financially, he carries the weight of that. But that means he's often exhausted. And touch is my love language. And so romance suffers at the expense of stability in that case. And little girl Janet, she lashes out. There are moments where I cannot understand what's going on. Are you not attracted to me? Do you not believe I'm beautiful? And of course, he often responds with, of course you're beautiful. Of course I'm attracted to you. I've had many of those moments. The either or. The protection, the stability, or the romance. But it's all too often the experience of many, even my own, that we get either the breadwinner or the man who will sex us down, who will communicate our love language, who has poor work ethic. And I don't think it's fair. And so in many cases, I believe women, black women in particular, have taken this stance of, I'll do it by myself. And so we have many of those. And our strength is perceived as ugly. Even someone such as myself, I'm married, but I also really, really enjoy my time alone. I go to the gym by myself. I'll take walks by myself. I shop by myself. I'll probably travel by myself, and that's frowned upon. I had a guy one day tell me, I've seen you walking the Loop, which is a place in a city close to me. And when I see you, you're always by yourself. What's wrong with you? He asked me. He also went on to let me know that when I walked around the gym, I walked very masculinely. Shoulders up, all buff, and in every sense of the word, I am a feminine woman. I appreciate and honor my womanness, but I have a personality. And I have some trauma that I'm navigating through. I'm healing for my independence. The fact that I enjoy being by myself, my peace should not be made ugly. I have a quote that says, people make ugly what they do not understand. I have come to this understanding that people seek less to understand and more to judge. Because if I judge you, that takes the limelight off of me. Biblically speaking, I'll point out the speck in your eye as I attempt to hide the whole plank in my own. That has been my lived reality. Many times we observed our grandmothers. Yes, they were home. They were great homemakers. My grandmother was a great homemaker. Family functions have not been the same since she's been gone. But I wonder, was she fulfilled? And maybe she was. But when I ask myself, would just taking care of a home and not ever tapping into the potential of the gifts of writing and speaking and things like that, would that fulfill you? And inside, the lingering answer for me is hell no. I don't think that would fulfill me. I think it will leave much to be desired. I'll be 39 next week on January 18th. And I'm just really getting into a position to launch my career. Now, I started a nonprofit a few years ago, and I've been working at it for nearly 18. However, really launching my career and really committing to being consistent and going after what I believe my calling is in this world. It only started about a week and a half ago. I've wavered and I struggled. And yet I can tell you, every time I pack some period purses, every time I host an event for women, female empowerment, where I'm up speaking, every time I am in the position of mentor or coach or minister, something in me leaps. It brings me great joy. So being a mother and a wife, it is not enough. Unapologetically, it is not enough. I was having a conversation with my son the other day, and I asked him this one thing, or we were discussing women and what our role here is. We know that men are alphas and they are there to protect and things like that. But is it just the woman's job to take care of the home and to take care of the kids? Because if that be the case, the age for women to get married is 18 without consent. Now, if her parents consent before then, it can happen before then. But hypothetically speaking, what if a female, a woman, she gets married between 18 and let's say 21? She starts having children almost immediately. Society tells us that children are adults at the age of 18. So by 40, 45, 50 at the latest, her job here is done. She can't keep having kids because we do have that thing called menopause. Unlike men, we can't just keep having kids. Our bodies are not made for that. Nor do we want to. Because I'm not sure if you're aware that for a woman, childbirth is her closest moment of death without dying. And there are cases where women have died. Many cases of that, actually. But just think about it. If all we're here for is to take care of a home and to raise our children, at 45, we might as well die. Because what are you going to do? Good parents raise their kids to be independent. Good parents raise their kids to go out on their own. Good parents don't want to micromanage. And yet, as mothers, often we hold on because our identity is so woven into who we are as mothers and wives. And we often don't know who we are outside of that we just hold on to our kids. We hold on to that because to confront that I am more than somebody's wife, I am more than somebody's mother, can be painful. And it requires that we acknowledge that my name is, and I am unfulfilled. So, to recount, I believe the Black woman's anger a lot of times is rooted, one, in childhood trauma and anger and hurt and abuse and not feeling protected. And two, this either or mentality that we either have to choose a career or we have to choose to be a family person, to be a homemaker. It's not fair. Because guess what happens? As men and in their protection, they're not the ones who are forced often to be at home with the kids. So they get to create the both dynamic for themselves. They get to have it all. The type of wife they choose, as well as the career path they choose. We want the choice. And if we choose not to be mothers, that's not for everybody. Not every woman has the desire to be somebody's mother. And not every woman has the desire to be somebody's wife. Does that mean we're useless? No. I'm a mother of 6. As I've mentioned before, my sons, the first 3, are all 18 and older. I have a teenage daughter, an almost teenage daughter, and an 8-year-old. What happens when they are grown and gone? If I don't discover and transition unapologetically while healing, what's the use? And I just don't believe that my life and all that it entails, everything that I've suffered, everything that I have on the inside of me, this creativity, this confidence, this boldness, is supposed to just go away at 40 and 50. I believe that I am approaching the best years of my life. I spent many, many moments weeping and crying and confused and giving all that I had within me away. I was an empty well, running on fumes, giving all that I had. And then I found this quote. It says, "Stop setting yourself on fire, trying to keep other people warm." I am fighting for my life. I am fighting for my purpose. I am fighting for my identity. Being a wife is part of my makeup. Being a mother is part of my makeup. And that hurt little girl is part of my makeup. However, that does not define completely or at all who I am. I hope that you find this to be encouraging, enlightening, uplifting, that you find courage in this, that you find confidence in this. And if any of this resonates with you or someone you may know, it's okay to acknowledge that we are, as women, we are strong. We are strong. I hear it. It's okay to acknowledge that it's necessary. We're more than just child bearers and homemakers. We run the world, in the words of Beyonce. But there's a way to do it. I desire to continue to submit to my husband, but he's given me a reason. He's given me reasons to trust him. Ladies, let me tell you, there are some good men out there. And Black men, let me tell you, there are some good Black women out there. I love you to life. And until next time, bye-bye.